Shutter speed is like the eyelid of your camera. So think about it, the more you blink, the less light you're letting in. The longer you have your eyes open, the more light is coming into your eyeball. Your shutter speed is gonna regulate how much light you allow into your camera. So a fast shutter speed lets in less light, and a slow shutter speed lets in more light. But you can't just set your shutter speed to whatever you want, because there is a rule that correlates with your frame rates. Your frame rate is how many frames per second your camera is shooting in. So if you're filming in 24 frames per second, that means in 1 second, there's gonna be 24 little pictures. If you're filming in 120 frames per second, that means in 1 second, there's going to be 120 little pictures. The rule is you want your shutter speed to be double your frame rate. Now there are gonna be instances where you want to have a different effect and you can break this rule. So if you want more of a dreamlike effect and you want everything to be moving slow, you wanna be filming in a low shutter speed. But if you watch a war movie, you'll notice it's very jittery and chaotic. That's when you would have a high shutter speed because everything looks uneasy. It doesn't look right. There's no motion blur. So shutter speed is affecting your motion blur. When I move my hand like this, you're not seeing every finger, you're seeing motion blur. That's because I'm filming in 24 frames per second at 1/50. So if I drop my shutter speed to 1/15, now it's much brighter, but you can see there's a lot more motion blur when I move my hands around. If I increase my shutter speed, now when I move my hands, there's less motion blur, so it looks kind of jittery, and also you'll notice the image got darker. And the last point that I want to make is if you are going to film in slow motion, you want a higher frame rate. So if I'm filming something slow motion, I'm gonna go 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second just to get more pictures in each second. Then when I get into post-production and I go to slow it down, I have more data to work with so it doesn't look jittery. In this next video, I'm gonna show you how to take your aperture, your ISO, your shutter speed, and do the balancing act to make your image look right.